The meditation working group began at Zuccotti Park when we were considering how to be of service to the movement, not to make a statement so much as how can we be of service to these amazingly dedicated people who are here day and night and offering their skills and their time and their energy. And it was such an exhilarating environment, but also incredibly intense. And so we thought, well, why don't we use the skill set that we have as mindfulness practitioners and meditators and offer a space of service where people can come and reconnect to their intention for being a part of this movement and just take an hour to engage in a mindfulness practice or a loving kindness practice. So really just an offering to the movement. And the very first meditation that we did at Zuccotti Park, I remember we did an hour-long mindfulness meditation, and afterwards one of the gentlemen who had been occupying the park day and night, he had been there for about 10 days at that point, he said, you know, I've never meditated before, but all I kept thinking about during this meditation is how we're beginning to see the lines of division within this park that we're rallying against in the outside world. So even within Zuccotti Park, it was like social and class division was beginning to form, with more of the haves sort of gathering what one would consider to be the more well-educated sort of intelligentsia of the park gathering on one area, and then other people of social and class divisions sort of grouping together and segregating themselves within the park. And we became engaged as a collective group in this whole idea that unless we're willing to change the way that we personally engage with the world, unless we're really willing to sit and contemplate what our relationship is to society, to one another, to other human beings, unless we're really willing to engage in our own thoughts and actions, that nothing is ever going to change. That even within an enclosed community, a space where we're all here together for a very similar intention, for very similar injustices, that we're bound to recreate the structure that we know within the world. So when I think of unity and really engaging one another in this movement, it's that always comes to mind is the very first meditation, and that it really is our opportunity to engage differently for ourselves and for the movement. Thanks.
One of the first times I offered a grounding down there was on a Saturday afternoon, and the park was really, really crowded. It was like at the height of its population, and there's so many people, and the drummers were going, and it was beautiful, and I led a grounding. I've been reading a lot of Martin Luther King Jr., so I was feeling like really inspired. It's just really feeling it, and I remember, speaking at one point with my eyes closed and opening up my eyes and looking around to see who was there. And there must have been 80, 90 people around us, and there was grandmothers, and there was like women with their babies, and Russell Simmons was there, and people had like their children there, and there were teenagers, and it was just everybody you can imagine was there, and everybody was just in such solidarity, and everyone was just, whether that was their practice or not, they were just there, being respectful and offering solidarity and being there as community. And it was just a day when I realized that we were all in this together, that this work that we were doing was so important, and it was for everyone. It was for future generations. It was for generations who have been trying to do this work for the past 60 years. And it just felt so inclusive. It felt like we were just all there together.
So what I remember about the early days of offering meditation practice at Liberty Plaza, aka Zuccotti Park, was the energy. We had our daily meditation set for 3:30, and then of course the drummers, the wonderful, fabulous drummers, would start drumming at 4 o'clock, right next to us. So our meditation was an hour long. The first half hour, we would normally do a mindfulness-based meditation where we'd focus on the breath, and maybe some walking meditation. And then the latter part was a loving kindness meditation, where you start by generating loving kindness for yourself, and then taking an image of a neutral person, developing loving kindness for them, and then a difficult person. And finally expanding your circle of loving compassion to include all beings everywhere. And of course we're doing this as the drummers are just like banging away. And I'll never forget screaming out the instructions for loving kindness metta meditation at Zuccotti Park for a group of about a dozen meditators, as a few feet away from me the drummers were just going at it, drumming away. Good times.
In thinking about how I came to participate in Occupy Wall Street, I'm reminded of the really beautiful meditation gatherings that happened in Liberty Plaza. And originally my intention was to come together and slowly create a sense of harmony in the park. And when I think about all of those early gatherings, there was a real sense of chaos around us. And I think oftentimes people think that when you come to think about your breath and come to center yourself, you have to be in a space of calm. And one of the strongest memories I actually have in the park was one of almost complete chaos, in that the protesters around us, as we sat in silence, was actually so strong and so almost violent in their physical behavior, rattling the actual metal partitions and screaming out loud their anger and their rage. And yet ultimately, I think we were all able to get in touch with an inner sense of peace through our breath, and offering the space as one of safe and one of collective and one of conscience. And I think that one of the things that I think we're trying to accomplish in creating these grounding offerings are to have people tap into their own sense of that and not have a preconception of what it should be, and the usefulness that this could be if spread. And so when I reflect back on those early gatherings, I think with much gratitude, and I think of how we've evolved and incorporated them now into many other purposes, and hopefully that's what other people will find as well.
Okay, so last May I was vacationing in Barcelona, right near Plaça Catalunya, where the students had taken over the square. And I was totally inspired about their energy. And one of the things I noticed was that every day they had a big meditation group, just people sitting on the grass, cross-legged, in a meditative position. And I thought, wow, this is really special. When can we have this in the US? So I come back, and then come September, we all know what happened here, the wonderful movement that started here. So what I'd like to try to bring to it as part of the meditation working group is this sense of meditation and calm and purpose, because we are nonviolent, and yet our anger is frequently stirred as we run into various things that are obstacles. So I like to think, there's a fellow in Oakland named Pancho who says, when they escalate the violence, we have to escalate our nonviolence. So I like to think of the meditation working group and what I do, bringing any sense of calm that I can to our different meetings, as creating the kind of nonviolence that can overcome violence, as Martin Luther King wanted to do also. So when you see me sitting, join me. Thanks.